So my talk today is what candidates want and why you should give it to them. Now, it might seem obvious that everyone in the room wants to give candidates what they want, but I come at things from a slightly different angle. As Louise said, I run the national... Incidentally, I'm going to pace quite a bit here, so my apologies if I get in front of the screen. I run the National Online Recruitment Awards, the Noras. The awards this coming week on Wednesday are the 19th annual awards. And that's my perspective on things from that perspective. So, the Noras, RecX, Recruiter's Own, and also I do a bit of work with this company here. Actually, Janine, who was on before, is with the last company I had a proper job with, Search, which was in 1993. So I do a lot of things in all that time, mostly recruitment agency, owning, running, and things like the Noras and so on. So with the Noras, I look at things very much from a candidate's perspective. I wouldn't claim to be a candidate champion. That's a terrible thing for anybody to claim, but other people might say that. So, as I say, in terms of credibility, I've been in the industry since 1987. I started when I was 12. But most of that time, certainly since the year 2000, has been looking at things almost exclusively from a candidate's perspective. I'm probably Britain's busiest job seeker. With the National Online Recruitment Awards, we have almost 600 recruitment websites that are nominated by, 20,000 nominations each year. And all of those 600 websites for employers, recruitment agencies, job boards, publications, I'll visit them all as a candidate and I'll register, I'll search for jobs, I'll apply, I'll go through the process as a candidate would do. So I try and understand what candidates are looking at. So I reckon I can claim to be Britain's busiest job seeker without actually looking for a job since 1993. So a bit of background on the Noras. I'll get this out of the way first of all, but just in terms of a premise so you understand what we do. As I say, each year we have over 20,000 nominations from the public. We ask job seekers and members of the public to nominate recruitment websites right across all those categories that I mentioned. Been going since the year 2000. Each year we have about 600 separate recruitment websites are nominated. There are 432 Academy members. These are companies who have been finalists and winners in the awards in all those 19 years. So every company, in the same way as the Oscars, when you win an Oscar, you become a member of the Academy. It's the exact same way with the Noras. And in that time, we've given out 247 awards to companies. I think the first year, the winner was Jobsite, when it was called Go Jobsite. That would be back in 2001. And there are lots of multiple winners in those years. Some companies have gone on to amazing things. Some companies have disappeared from without any trace. We have 20 judges, 2 sets of judges of 10. First set decide of the nominated sites who are going to be the finalists, and the second set decide of the finalists who are going to be the winners. And they're all from recruitment, HR, and job board backgrounds, but they're all given the assignment of judging all the sites from a candidate's perspective. One really important thing is if we can't see it, we don't judge it. So if a job board gives great value for money to advertisers, we're not that interested because candidates aren't interested. Candidates don't see those things. We only look at what candidates can see. So if it's visible, if we can see it, we'll judge it. We prioritise, and we have done for certainly over 10 years now, mobile devices, mobile first as opposed to mobile friendly. Almost everyone who's looking at recruitment websites, they're doing it on one of these. They're getting job alerts. You'll know this. They're getting job alerts on smartphones. So they click on the link on the smartphone, it opens up on a small screen, and there's a shed load of black text on a white screen. So we very much prioritise mobile devices. Each year, certainly this year, we have around 50 to 70% of the finalists that we have each year are companies that have never been, or that weren't finalists for the same awards the year before. So there's a regular turnover, and we see it as a mission to uncover new recruitment companies, new websites, new job boards. We have awards for newcomer and innovation. So again, this is the background to what I'm then going to go on to say. Of all of those nominations, we ask for feedback. Now, it's a small number, but about 17% of the 20,000 nominations that we receive are candidates giving us feedback on what they like, what they want to see, what works for them. People often say, oh, where do you get your stats? Where are your statistics from? If I quote percentages from elsewhere, then you'll see that, but in all other areas, it'll be from feedback that we've had from candidates nominating over the past 19 years. So, job boards, clearly are a business. Recruitment agencies are a business. Employers are in business. Everyone has commercial concerns. Candidates, not so much so. So they say if you're not paying, then you are the product. And candidates are absolutely aware that when they apply for a job through a recruitment agency, they're the product. They know there's a fee involved. They don't really dwell on the details of it, but they understand that there. And they know when they're on a recruitment website, they know it's not for free. They know that someone's paying for it somewhere. But it does mean that candidates have an entirely different perspective on looking at job boards as the people who work in job boards do. Quite obviously. And one thing I would always say to anyone in the job board sector, as often as you can, maybe even as homework for your staff, tell them to go and apply for jobs through your own website. Just see what it's like. Imagine you're looking for a job and you need to find a particular job in a particular area and the best employers in that. Is your website working for them? Because our judges, even though, and we have a certain turnover of judges each year where we renew them, but our judges every year find it an education to go through our nominated websites every year from a candidate's perspective. They learn things they just wouldn't do otherwise. Acceptance versus pushback. Candidates since the year dot have kind of accepted what they've been asked to do, jump through hoops, take this assessment, take this video interview, do this, do that, do the other, if they want the job. And for the most part, candidates will keep doing that. They'll accept what they're asked to do, but we're seeing more pushback. We're seeing more pushback now where candidates' experience of other services online is much wider than just job boards. You know, everything they do online, whether it's YouTube or Amazon or eBay or any other website, even Netflix, everything that they see online informs what they expect from job boards when they go there. Job boards were probably one of the first commercializations of the internet after mucky websites, but let's put that to one side. But the commercial realities are that obviously job boards have to work for their advertisers, but candidates are beginning to push back on that. It's not so much that they're saying we won't stand for this, they'll gradually fade, they'll gradually not come back, they won't renew their interest in your website. So in terms of pushback, they won't stamp their feet and storm out the room, you just won't hear from them again. There are others, but I'll point to this in particular. YouTube is absolutely a threat. YouTube, obviously anyone can post anything on YouTube. 74% of all bandwidth on the internet is video, not just YouTube, but Netflix and all other video streaming. Just in terms of capacity of the internet, 74% is just video, is video content being streamed. On YouTube in particular, 5 billion views per day, second most visited website worldwide, billion hours of video. The average session on YouTube is 40 minutes. You might go on to find a video on how to fix a leaky tap or see Taylor Swift or any number of other things, but before you know it, hours later, you've watched God knows how many pieces of video content. But the average session on YouTube, 40 minutes, and they're experiencing 60% year-on-year growth. Again, 50% mobile devices. People are looking on these little boxes that you keep in your pocket. Video content is shared. 1,200% sounds a bit daft, but 12 times. Video content is shared 12 times more than any of the even nearest competitor in terms of content that's being shared. And after Google, and ahead of all other search engines, YouTube is getting more searches on a daily basis. One thing to bear in mind is that 20% of all videos on YouTube, people stay 10 seconds or less. So people will flip from one thing to another very, very quickly. They don't hang around if it's not giving them what they want. So video interviews, leading on from the talking about videos. Candidates know when they're being screened. They know that the purpose of video interviews is to cut them down, and they perceive video interviews as unfair because they don't have a chance to push back. They don't have a chance to look in the eye of the interviewer and assess that the answer they just gave is the answer that they were looking for. They don't get to talk through the job, the opportunity, and so on. Video interviews are very common, and they're becoming all the more so. But candidates are starting to push back in ways where they're thinking, well, if I have to produce this video content for you, how about some insight from the employer back to me? I want to learn about the organisation. I want to know who I'm applying to. I want to know about the culture. I want to know about the diversity. I want to know about the gender mix. If you want me to jump through these hoops, then I'm going to ask you, Mr. Employer, to do the same. Right now, we have an unemployment rate that's lower than it's been for a long time. And we won't go into the politics of it, but what it does mean is that candidates are in a position, and certainly in sought-after professions, they're in a position where they can afford to be fussy. They can afford to push back. And when you're in a sought-after position and the potential employer asks you to take a video interview, an asynchronous video interview, it's not a two-way process, then good candidates are thinking, well, do you want to hire me or not? How about you woo me a little? So video interview is a great example of where candidates are shrugging their shoulders and thinking, I don't think so. CV databases suck. In my view, they always have done. And it's not the principle of having a CV database. It's the principle that CV databases are essentially a big bucket of information that almost anyone can have access to. Now, not all job boards are the same, but there are enough to be significant job boards out there where all you have to do is pay the price to get access to hundreds of thousands of candidates and CVs. And on CVs, what do we have? We've got lots of insecure information. Candidates, just by their very nature, they volunteer information. They'll put their passport number, their driving license number, the name of their next of kin, their national insurance number, their pet's name, all of the things that would be required for identity theft. But at the same time, who's been looking at my CV? When a candidate puts their CV online, they know that it's going to be browsed by, and they know that people can be picking up their details. But you have that information, and it would be great to be able to share that with the candidates in a much more detailed way. Not every job board fails to do it, some are starting to, but candidates want to know who's been looking at my CV. Recently we had what Google would call a Google moment. 59% of job searches on Google are coming from mobile. So a Google moment is where they describe a tipping point in a sector where you've gone over the 50% mark in a particular industry area. So 59% of job searches come from Google on mobile. As I was saying at the beginning, if you're starting on your phone, then the whole process has to be designed for your mobile phone. 8% for tablets, 33% from desktops. Job adverts suck as well, while I'm at it. Job adverts have always been terrible, but if we go back to the 1990s or 1980s, when I was posting adverts in newspapers, you were limited on the lines that you put in the advert, because the more lines, the more words, the more space you took in the newspaper, the more it cost. When you post a job advert on a job board now, you pretty much have unlimited space to put whatever you like. So you can just copy and paste that entire HR job spec, which is not any kind of persuasive document. It's an internal, technical document. But you can copy and paste that all onto the advert. So the employer might give it to the agency pastes it onto an advert that goes on a job board, and what do the candidates see? They see a whole load of gobbledygook, which is not persuading anyone to do anything. It's certainly not overcoming any preconceptions they might have about your organisation. If you open that long job spec on a mobile, then again, you've got a shed load of black text on a white screen that you're scrolling and zooming and looking at it. And the truth is that candidates are not reading job adverts like this. They're skimming them at best. They're looking at the job title, they're looking at the salary, they're looking at the name of the employer if it's there, and the location. And often they're applying anyway because they're too busy. There's a busy job market out there. They're in demand. Send off the application anyway. What's it going to hurt? But what that means is that on the other side of things, the whoever's advertising the job, whether it's an agency or an employer, they then need to deal with, in a professional manner, rejecting unsuitable candidates and doing it as best they can, because they're bearing in mind the candidate experience. So bad job adverts create that effect, and that also has a big effect on the conversion rates with job boards. So better job adverts, we all know, are good for job boards, they're good for agencies, they're good for employers. But there seems to be very little pushback or very little encouragement and training, or even blocks on bad adverts going up. Quality control. So what I think we've arrived at now is that job boards are absolutely in a position where they have the ability, in this day and age, for God's sake, the technology, the data, and the opportunity to delight candidates in ways that they never could before. The data is there, and people now now know, well, they absolutely should know, how to use that data, not just for their own benefits in terms of what's working, what's not working, and so on. Who should we push on for sales? What clients could we encourage to do more? How can we generate more revenue? But using that data to share that data to illuminate the job search of candidates, to make your websites that bit more sticky, that bit more attractive. The information that you have, much of it can be shared. You can share hotspots on where particular jobs, particular industries, particular sectors, there's more or there are fewer vacancies on the go. You can indicate where people are moving to, where people are moving from. All of this information is extremely valuable and the sort of insight that candidates are looking for all the time. So when candidates want that, if you have it, why would you keep it a secret? So what do candidates want? As I said at the start, we would presume that all job boards are in the business of giving candidates what they want, but job boards are a business and looking to generate revenue and profits and pay all the salaries and so on. Well, let's get on to it. So, first of all, no black hole. When a candidate applies for a vacancy, it's not good enough that you then bump it onto the agency or the employer or whoever the application went to and say, well, if it takes forever for them to get back to you, that's not our problem. Well, it kind of is your problem. So the black hole where CVs go in and candidates don't know what the application process is the biggest problem. The biggest problem more than any. What you need is an open and transparent apply process. At the start, when I see a job advert, what I'm looking for, aside from a persuasive, salesy document that's going to encourage me to apply, I want to know, well, how long is it going to take? How long is the interview process? How many separate touch points will there be? Is there a phone interview? Is there a screening session? Is there an assessment to be taken? Do I need to take a psychometric test at any point? Is there a video interview? All of those things, first, second interviews. So I know that within 7 weeks of application, I'll know one way or another. Or if I'm a straight no, then I'll find out within a week or 10 days. Give me an answer on that. Don't just say apply and we'll get around to coming back to you. The feedback myth. It's often said that candidates, more than anything, what they want is feedback. They want to know why they didn't get that job. It's in there, but to be honest, it's a bit of a fraud, because what candidates really want is a job, and the right job. But a fast rejection is far better than a detailed reason for why they didn't get the job. Candidates can accept that they don't get the job. There will be some, and it's a small proportion, but candidates will accept that some candidates, some other people out there are better than them for this job. At the point in which they get rejected, they might be stamping their feet, they might be a bit huffy about it, but to be honest, they would rather hear quickly that they were unsuccessful than taking weeks to then get a detailed reason as to why you didn't get the job. Stands to reason. Note of interest. These days, more than ever, candidates are researching employers. They want to find out about a job, a company, the environment that they're going to be working in, the diversity of the work, the type of work that's being done. They don't want to always commit to applying for a job. They want to make a note of interest. They want to say, I'm interested, send me more information. I don't want to commit to making an application. I don't want to formally declare myself right now, but send me more information. Allow candidates to make that note of interest. Now, in terms of conversions, in terms of details with job boards, some job boards do this, but in terms of conversions, then everything's an application, because application is the key thing that you're looking to encourage more than anything. But notes of interest are very valuable, and candidates really appreciate that. More insight, as I was saying before, candidates want to understand the job, the company, the environment, the people who work there, what it's like to work there. They want to understand, if I take this job, what am I letting myself in for? They're looking to find out, well, how many people have already applied for this job? It might sound daft, and I've spoken to some job board people about this and say, well, that's just bananas. But if I saw a job and it said, no one's applied for this job yet, or 10 people have applied for this job this morning, then from a candidate's perspective, I can see that this is a job that's moving, that's going somewhere. Now, it might seem like a bit of an Amazon or an eBay thing to do, but candidates would really appreciate that information. Applicants for this job that you've just applied to, they also applied for this job, which you may never have found. Now, you are actually making a connection between a candidate who applied for one job and another, and you're sharing that information with someone else, but you're not telling the name of the other person, but you're you're following one onto the other, and that's another job that the candidate might not have found. And finally, video content. Video content, I'll declare an interest. I do work with video, my job, but as I was saying before, video in terms of a means by which information is being shared is just rocketing in terms of usage figures. In the 1990s, when job sites started and all the job boards, JobServe, Monster, so on and so on, they were revolutionising an industry. They were starting something that has gotten us to where we are today. But where have we moved on to since then, from a candidate's perspective? To be honest, it looks largely the same. You know, it's a black and white text advert for a vacancy that just looks like, you know, it could have been printed in the newspaper. I'm looking for more information, and I'm looking at that information on one of these small boxes in your pocket. So video content. Talking about video stats, 55% of candidates say employee-generated video is more trustworthy, i.e. video that's made by someone in the organisation as opposed to an actor on a movie given a day in the life. This is what it's like to work here. So employee-generated video is more trustworthy, candidates say. Video job ads are shared 5 times more than text job adverts. Now, I don't have access to your stats, but you'll know how often people are sharing the text-based job adverts on your site. And I bet it's not that much. When was the last time you remember sharing a job advert that you saw on a job board? Doesn't happen. With video, a particular client, Siemens, reported 170% increase in the calibre, the measurable calibre of applications that they received. Now that seems like a crazy number, that seems like too big a number. It's actually made up of 2 different things. Candidates were more accurately self-selecting themselves for jobs before they applied, where they're looking at text-based adverts and they're applying anyway. When they're looking at videos, they're understanding much more about the job, the employer, the hiring manager, and so on, and they're choosing not to apply if they're not suitable. Equally, on the other end of the scale, the softer, more passive candidates are applying where they were never going to apply before. As I said before, text-based adverts are really bad at overcoming any preconceptions that someone has about your organisation. So as an advertiser, text-based adverts don't do a good job for that. Video adverts do a very good job of that. Again, they're able to share your diversity, your work environment, and so on. Really interestingly, and this was a surprise number that came up to 47% increase in the number of female applicants. Now, not in all jobs and not in all areas, but in engineering with a particular client, they saw that step up. And again, it's to do with people being able to see your environments, see the hiring manager, to see other people working in the organisation and relate to the job and picture themselves in the job. And again, going back, you know, if a picture says 1,000 words, what does a video do? It does a lot more than that. Videos everywhere. I won't go through all these in detail, but you'll recognise them. The ones that are most interesting to me, these obvious ones on the corner you'll know, but Twitch, you'll have seen your kids sharing videos and watching videos of other kids playing videos on Twitch. YouTube, obviously, duh, but you can be live streaming to YouTube as well. Crowdcast, I use Crowdcast along with Louise for webcast shows that we have going out on a almost daily basis, all about recruitment, but it's a great way of streaming content and engaging with people. And TikTok, again, ask your kids. My 17-year-old son says TikTok's past it, it's gone, but it's about to be invaded by corporates. TikTok is brilliant from my point of view, and it's hilarious. So recommendations. Enable filtering of employers and agencies. Where are the S1 jobs, guys? S1 jobs have been doing this from the very start, and candidates love it. And it's not that they ignore vacancies advertised by agencies, but they want to sort them out. There is a difference in tone between an advert that's posted by an agency and by an employer. So if I want to look at just employer adverts, let me filter it, for God's sake. Separate them out, and candidates then know what they're looking at. And enable detailed filtering like Versida. I don't think there's Versida here today, but Versida have been a winner and finalist at the Noras. And as you can see, there's all manner of detailed filtering that goes on there. They do a lot of work, particularly on diversity, hiring and employment, and they're growing very quickly. But a really good example from my perspective. Inform candidates of precisely who's looked at their CV. If Joe Bloggs, the recruiter, looks at my CV this morning, or X company looks at my CV this afternoon, why shouldn't I know about it? I should know that. There should be a detailed log of who's looked at my CV for no other reason than I should know. And I think it seems only fair. And from a candidate's perspective, it's that black hole. Your CV's out there sitting. If there's data on the people who have looked at my CV, I want to know. Prioritise adverts with rich content for better conversions. It stands to reason. It's much more straightforward than you think to embed video, for example, in job adverts. Just a bit of code. But if you can put the videos in there and promote them to the top of search results, it'll encourage all the more employers to do exactly the same. I know that Derek from Monster is going to be talking a little bit about this tomorrow, and he's got more detailed stats on that. And very importantly, adoption is key, but it's there as a potential. So, identifying duplicate jobs. Now, we had people from talking about Google for Jobs earlier on. This is a great example. When a job is advertised on the job board, we all know full well that the same job has been given to 5 agencies. 5 agencies advertise the same job on 5 different job boards. Sometimes they advertise it on the same job board several times, described in slightly different ways, just to capture different demographics and so on. But as a candidate, I don't want to apply 15 times for the same job. And not only that, if I know that several agencies are working on the same job, I want to be able to choose the agency that works for that I like best. So on this, obviously, you can choose to apply with S1, Smashing Career, Read, and so on. If I was a candidate looking at that, I'd go, oh, well, I'm already registered with Read, and I like them, so I'll apply through that. Why wouldn't you give the candidates a choice? If you've got duplicate job adverts, and you do, then give candidates a choice through which channel do they want to make their application. It seems a no-brainer. Certainly it does to me. And the feedback we get with the Noras, then absolutely. Flag a CV that contains security-sensitive information. If you can detect the name and address and phone number and where someone worked on a CV, then you can absolutely detect that someone's put in a passport number or a driving license number, national insurance number. Straight away, when a candidate uploads that CV, let them know we're either going to obfuscate or redact that information, or maybe you want to reconsider having that on there because this information is going to be shared with other people, and maybe you shouldn't be sharing that right now. So again, that kind of feedback to candidates is really useful. Candidates naturally want to share more than they should, and I think job boards are in a great position to say, look, you're going a bit far there. And as I was saying before, use your data to inform candidates with insights on the market sectors, industry sectors. Niche job boards already do this and do this pretty well, but generalists, I think, from my point of view and the feedback we get, are less so. So, to conclude, think like a candidate. What would you want? If you were applying for a job through your own website, are you going to be absolutely delighted? Are you going to be thinking, it's not as good as I thought it was going to be? So with that, thank you very much.